today we are all about generosity.
Generosity.
Yes. It's a lot like unselfishness, where you give and give and give of yourself.
Do you think you're a generous person overall?
I've been called a generous person.
Yeah, I think you are.
Yes. I've been called a generous person in numerous times, just because of all the different things that we've done throughout the years. Typically throughout my life, yeah, I'd say that I'd say it's a big part of like growing up. Always giving, like no matter how much you have to give, is a lot of what I think influenced me in that.
Yeah. Do you think someone can be too generous?
Can someone be too generous? Yeah.
I feel like,
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know, but like somebody might think you're being too generous, but they're not going to think you're being too generous at that point. They're going to think you're kissing butt. Like,
what are you talking about here?
like if you're being too nice and if you're sucking up to somebody and you're like, and that person's going to be like, this person's just sucking up to me, kissing my butt. Like, you know, this term kiss.
But that's not being generous. That's being manipulative.
No.
Yeah, because they're not doing it they're not being unselfish. They're doing it because they're expecting to get something out of it. So
no, that's not what I mean though. Like I guess.
That's what that sounded like.
Yeah. If you're kissing, yeah, okay. I see. But I'm just saying, like, this person might just think that they're being generous, but the person that they're being generous to, if they're they might think they're being too generous,
right,
and might think that they're trying to suck up, versus they're just that's what I mean.
So they feel like that, just like they're giving them so much, it almost feels like they're sucking up.
Yeah.
Because
who knows
there's something
what the reason is.
you can do back to them, sort of thing, or
no, I don't know.
So when you say suck up, you mean like they're just too. It's just too much, and it feels like they're expecting something. Is that what you mean?
That's what the person may think that they're trying to do, but really, in all honesty, the person, maybe they're just a super, super generous person.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but then it's not. So I don't think somebody can be too generous. I think it's all about who you're generous to, and how they're going to take that generosity.
Okay, so what's the best way to be generous?
Well, there's a few different things. There's giving your time, your money. You can give food.
To who? Who should you be generous with?
Who? Everybody.
Why?
Not everybody. The people that you love.
Oh, so you shouldn't be generous to everybody, but only to the people that you love.
You're tripping me up.
Here we go.
Okay, who do you think people should be generous to? I'm going to throw the question around to you.
So I don't think you really have a choice. I think that the opportunity to be generous continues to present itself throughout your life. Mm-hmm. And so depending on who you're spending your time with is going to determine who you can be generous with.
Yeah.
So if
right.
if you're out and about and you're in public, you have a lot of opportunities to be generous with other people, mm-hmm. right? Whether it be helping something with something, or being able to possibly. I can only think of helping people something with something, right? If you're out and about and whatnot, right? But yeah, and if it turns out you're just with your family, then you can only be generous with them.
Yeah.
But it's all about looking for the opportunities to be able to be generous with others, and if you're not, then you're losing those opportunities. But why? Why should we? Why should we be generous with people at all? Like why can't we the fact is that it's a tough world out there, and you don't have a lot, and so why should you
look after your own, right?
Yeah, look after your own and like hold on to it, because you don't know if tomorrow, if like what you got in your hand now is going to be there tomorrow. So what are you going to do?
I don't know. Like, I just think it's going to make you a better person. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you happier being a generous person.
Do you think that, let's say that you have a piece of bread.
Yeah.
Okay. It's your last piece of bread.
Yeah. I know exactly what I would already do with it.
And you meet somebody who is hungry.
Yeah.
And you know that you don't know when you're going to get another piece of bread.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to give them the bread.
You're going to give them the bread?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah. And we all know how much I love food. But I would definitely give them the bread.
You would? Why?
Yeah. I think because, I guess this is my own personal thing, but I think watching me having the bread and watching them suffer would be harder on me. I'd probably throw up the bread because I'd be so stressed that they're not eating, for one.
Wow.
And number two, knowing that their belly is just a little bit fuller, I think would make me feel better, and in turn, I don't know. I don't think I could really live with I don't know. The proper thing would be was split the bread in half.
Okay.
And give each person a half.
Okay.
Depending on the size. Now, if it was like a 300-pound person, I'd probably give them 3/4 of the bread.
Okay.
And I would take a quarter.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. This is just where my brain's going, but I think I would definitely more so rather give the bread than eat it myself. What would you do? Especially if it was somebody like I loved. Then it's hands down.
Yeah, I don't think it's that challenging to be generous with people that you care for.
No.
It's challenging to be generous to your fellow man.
Yes.
Like it's really
Yeah.
it's doing it completely out of the blue where the opportunity.
Well, we've talked about like pay it forward and stuff too, like when you're in the
talked about
drive-thru.
that. Yeah,
like,
that's right.
That's generosity.
It is generosity, yeah. So I think that I would because I believe in resourcefulness, right? So if I give this bread today, I'm not so worried that I'm not going to be able to find it tomorrow.
Right.
So
like good things happen to good people.
Exactly. So I would most likely give that bread to them if it was my last bread. But then again, I would just not get myself into a situation where it's my last piece of bread. So but anyways, I think that what? Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would do. But I mean, do you see these kinds of things happening? I mean, like, what's your best generosity story? Like, what's the best example of generosity you've ever you can share?
There's only one that I can like specifically pin down in my head right now, but there was like a housing crisis in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
And I could not find a place to live for the life of me, whether as the minute I said I had kids, 2 young children, or the minute I said I had 2 well-behaved fixed indoor female cats, or just the fact that I'm a single income. Like a lot of the postings said you had to have like a professional couple. I'm like, why a professional couple? Like, what's the difference between a professional couple and a professional single? There's nothing. Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, and somebody stepped up to the plate and they decided to purchase a place and they're going to be letting me rent from them. So I think that was probably the most generous thing like anybody's ever really, not ever done for me, but definitely top up there. Like it makes me want to cry thinking about it, really.
Wow. Okay.
Because I'm so thankful, and I really, it was a very generous thing for them to do.
It's quite a story.
It is quite a story.
Okay.
Can you think of one?
Oh boy. That I've seen of somebody else.
Or yeah.
Well, in the crypto space,
Yeah.
the fact is that in the crypto space, there's actually a number of things that happen that, on occasion, really show generosity. I think that, and it's because the way it is in the crypto space, a lot of people like they suddenly like during the bull runs where like all the value increases, everybody feels rich.
Yeah.
So what happens when everyone feels rich? They can now feel generous.
Yes.
Right? It's easier.
Yeah.
So they end up like, buying they end up like buying a relative a new car or something, or helping someone get out of debt and things like that. And I hear stories like that all the time. I think the only one that comes to mind though that really sticks out is Vitalik Buterin, who is one of the founders of Ethereum.
Okay.
He took a bunch of coins from Shiba.
Yeah.
Shiba, sorry.
Shiba.
So he took his Shiba coins. He ended up cashing them all out and it was to the tune of like, and if I recall this correctly, $1 billion.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and donated it
Oh wow.
to a charity. Yeah. So, and I can't recall the charity offhand, unfortunately, but I'm sure we can share that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, took all of that and just literally just donated it. So huge, like huge props for doing that. And the more stories like that coming out of crypto is the better. Like,
Yeah.
because oftentimes everybody likes to paint like all the negative stuff around.
Yes.
So
it's something new, which isn't so new anymore, but it's still new to people.
Yeah.
They like to paint negativity around.
Yeah,
new
it's
stuff.
just like when the internet first came out, right? It's like, what's the internet good for? Well, it's only good for porn and drugs, you know, like that's all anybody talked about.
Downloading music.
Exactly, right? And so then that's when the internet first came out, but then as time went on, people realized like, oh, wait a minute, this is the future,
Yeah.
right? So same thing in crypto. It's the same situation where it started out, oh, it's only good for porn and drugs, you know.
Yeah.
So so anyways, it's so I think that that was very generous, and that was an example, like in the crypto space, of seeing that happen. I'm trying to think of something else though, like something I've seen locally, but
Maybe this will like trigger you. So like generosity is, it's about giving and stuff like that, but it's more than just about cash and stuff. So when you're forgiving and gentle to people, you show curiosity in spirit.
true.
Maybe that will trigger a memory of yours. If you give others help or credit, it also shows generosity. So even just like complimenting somebody, is that what that means? If you compliment somebody, that's showing generosity? No.
Well, there is a saying of like being generous in your compliments, right?
Okay, yeah,
like
that's
to be
true.
Generous in
Yeah.
complimenting people and whatnot, and be generous in
You could be somebody that just compliments everybody,
yeah.
and then that person's definitely generous in their compliments.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is an attribute of somebody that would do that. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
And you know, as a general practice, that's just far more positive, right?
Yeah.
And you can imagine actually the knockoff effect of being generous with compliments. I can imagine that a lot of people would probably really like you,
Yeah.
right? They'll probably, like, when they first see you.
Of course they will.
Yeah. There's actually a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yep.
And in the chapter is actually all about how to be like a dog, right?
Oh my
and
God.
it's just like, and the reason he says that is because like you want to be like a dog, because what happens when a dog first sees you? He is super
So
excited,
excited.
and he's just going crazy, and he's just like, oh, I'm so glad to meet you. And he's just like, and you see them, and they're just like, they're vibrating. They can't, you know, they can't even like
They're
contain
pissing
themselves,
all
right?
over the floor.
Yeah, they're going crazy because they're so excited to see you, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just you as an order, but they're like that with like even a stranger,
Yeah.
right? So he says, be like a dog when you greet people. Like, be that excited to see people,
Yeah.
and you will see people that you actually meet like just totally light up. And guess what? We're gonna really like seeing you.
Yeah.
Right. So same sort of thing. If you're generous with people, if you're generous
Yeah.
in the way that you compliment people, or even generous in, it's not even compliments. It's generous with just being emotional, like
Yeah.
being excited.
I'm gonna try that.
I think that can really impact where you go in anything, because if you're doing that all the time, it just has a
People are gonna
cascading
look
effect.
at you like you're crazy, though. I feel like. I'm just picturing myself coming into work. Like maybe this is something I want to practice, and I just want to be so excited when everybody comes in, because I'm very much of a good morning. I say good morning to everybody when everyone leaves. Goodbye. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Like I'm very generous with when I say that, but maybe I should just be like more excited. Like good morning. It's Tuesday. Yeah.
You could, yeah, you can do that.
You would
Actually,
probably look at me like, what are you doing?
now that I'm talking about this, I'm thinking about when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was a lot like that. I was like really like full of energy, and like I don't want to say in your face, but I was just like really excited when I saw people.
Yeah.
And I was just like going about so, I don't even know how to say it. Like I was just like so high energy. I often left people going like, what is with that guy? Because I want some of that.
Yeah.
Right, as kind of like the effect it has. And so what happens to those, like what happens when you greet people that way? They end up being like, you know, I want to be around that person more.
Yeah, they're
right?
gonna leave smiling for
Exact-
one. Whether they're smiling because they got such a good greeting, or they're smiling because they think you're batshit crazy.
Yeah, but then it's a good crazy,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Because they're just
definitely.
like
It makes
because
them laugh.
at the same time there's like a curiosity to it. It's like, how come this guy is so excited,
Yeah.
right? That like, what is it about him or what is it about his life that's making him that way? Because I would like to have that,
Yeah.
right? And so people see that and then they're attracted to it because they want to be able to see it. So if you're generous with this, then you're able to really like have a huge impact in how you thrive in your world. Because if you keep doing it, it's eventually going to, I mean, like, you may do it on like random people and so forth, and it doesn't really,
Or random times.
yeah, but eventually you're gonna do it in such a way where suddenly it comes back. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to end up really being excited at meeting the right person who ends up maybe even giving you a new career, right? Or maybe even turns out to be like a huge investor or something, and they want to be able to back your company. Or I don't know. I'm just like throwing this kind of stuff, but you just never know, right? But if you continue
love of your life.
the love of your life, yeah, right. So
Need one of those.
exactly. So there's all these possibilities that open up when you're generous.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
So I think that I'm going to take what you just said and I'm going to try to implement that into my life. But what area do you think you like to grow in and to be more generous? Like, what do you think you could do? A certain area, a certain way of generosity, like whether you can practice it in one day, you can practice it throughout the week. Like, what do you think you could do?
I think one area of generosity where I could probably improve, oh gosh, this is a tough one for me.
I'd also love to be more generous with my time. But time's hard because you only got so much of it.
That's right. That's right.
So I feel like that's probably one of the most generous things you could give to somebody, honestly, is your time.
When you have little of it, yes. Like when you're just so jam-packed with everything, and to be able to like take out some of it to be able to give somebody, yeah, it's definitely worth more. A lot of what I do, like in terms of like what I'm building towards is to be able to have something that actually gives more, like into the future, like something that's going to impact people for generations, kind of thing. And I think that if I could stop maybe to spend more time with individuals to give back a little more. Do you know what I mean? Like, just, I don't even know what I'm saying here.
Yours is more of a long-term thing.
Yeah, because
you got some projects on the go.
Because these projects take time to build, and it's like once it's there, it's there. Like once it's there, then it actually can do its thing.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's really what I aim towards.
It's wanting to give back to people.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's kind of a long trudge without actually being able to be able to put in the time for other things.
You could maybe give back lots of compliments for as these projects go, and if they're doing well, make sure you're being very generous with your compliments towards the people who are building the project.
Yeah. Interesting thing about when you say that, because I think I've talked about this before, is that complimenting people can sometimes come off as manipulating.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's sometimes better to compliment the action.
Like the works.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's been done is what you want to compliment. And because if you start to go on and like, even I feel it sometimes when people are like, "Oh, Jonathan, you know, that's so genius," and things
so
like
smart.
that. Yeah. And when I hear things like that, I'm just kind of like, I don't even know what to think of it, because I just kind of I wall it off, because I just don't even feel like it's sincere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like, what, you want me to like love you now because you think because you called me a genius, you know, and this kind of stuff, right? And
that kind of goes back to like
the manipulation
up and manipulation.
Yeah, exactly, right? So really these kinds of things, like as humans, like as like we're smart enough to know like when these types of things are happening. I can, even when I'm thinking about some calls and like dealing with people who are in sales, you know, they'll say certain things to like butter you up, you know, and it's not even, it isn't even like really obvious. They'll make little comments like, "Oh, it's really smart that you did that," right? It's like, "Oh, you know, that's such a smart thing." It's like, "Wow, you're amazing when it comes to this," you know. And when they say things like this, you're like, "Yeah, I am." And you start to get excited. And then when they say and then when they ask for the sale, it's like, "Well, you said all these things about me, so yeah, sure, right?" Yeah, that kind of stuff.
I know, like what people will call sucking up sometimes, because it honestly, even when I'm sure I've even done it to you, because I remember even saying to you, I know it sounds like I'm sucking up right now, but I'm being truly sincere because I know what it probably sounds like.
Yeah.
But I need to announce, like, I'm actually being truly sincere right now. That way they don't think that I'm trying to suck up, because half the time, sometimes, like, when I say it, I don't say it all the time. It's not something I'm do all the time. So when I say it, I mean it, but I feel like people are thinking that, so I have to also say that, oh, I'm not sucking up, like, I actually mean this, I'm sincere, like.
Yeah. And when it's like, it's okay to compliment somebody in the sense that as long as you attach it to a certain thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Like,
because then that gives them in their heart a clear line of like, okay, because I did this action, that is what I'm being complimented for. It's not because, somebody's just there to like butter
call
me
you
up,
smart,
sort of thing, right?
genius. Yeah, exactly. How do you think we could be, like, or myself, like, how do you think people could be more generous with time?
Well,
Like,
we were
I'm just-
talking
I'm
about
sitting-
another show about doing volunteer work and things like that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what was that related to? Service.
Service.
Yeah. So
Last week.
Yeah. So
The week before.
So that is certainly, I mean, performing service is a type of generosity, right? So I think that we can either make a conscious decision that a certain amount of time in our week goes towards being generous to others.
And I think it's good that you said the week versus a per day, because some days you might be swamped and then the next day you're like, oh, I got some downtime. I didn't get anything done yesterday. I'm going to be generous. I'm going to go the extra mile to be generous with my time today.
Yeah.
Since I didn't have time yesterday. So I like how you said the week versus a single day.
Yeah, you got to think of it almost like, I know for some people this is going to sound painful, but think of it like working out, like going to a gym, right? Like you need to work out your body. So generosity is a way to work out your soul.
Yeah.
And which in turn helps you to be able to thrive. So you need to be able to have a week where you take certain periods in your day or certain days of the week, and then just be conscious, like make a mindful effort to be like, what is it today that I can do that's going to be like, what can I generously give, of today and sort of thing. And some people will even work into their schedules where it's like once a week they go to homeless shelter to volunteer.
Yeah.
Once a week they will go and check on a neighbor who is elderly and they need help and they need to take care of themselves and this kind of thing. And there's all these opportunities if you look to be able to be generous at least a few times a week.
Yeah.
And or just flex and work on the habit of being generous with compliments, right?
Yeah.
And maybe even set a goal for yourself of like every week I'm going to give 100 compliments, right? And so when you meet people, maybe there's like something like, and we talked about compliments being sincere, right? So make sure there's sincere compliments so that in the course of your day, you're looking for these things. And then as you look for them, you go ahead and do it, and then you can like keep your counter. It's like, okay, I got one. I got two. Okay, I got three, right? It'd be nice if we had some kind of app to help you with that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we'll do.
Ooh.
So, but that's certainly a great way to be able to like flex and build that up.
Do you think giving compliments is the easiest way to be generous?
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah. I mean, of all the.
For one, it doesn't take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, not long at all. I mean, unless you got like you're writing a poem
It's
for the person.
probably easy for somebody who's positive, but for people who are not used to.
Yeah, because I bet it's different for everybody.
Yeah, so I can imagine for some people it is super difficult because the first thing that comes to their mind is, oh, this, and this is wrong, right?
Yeah.
And that's all they're thinking. But for somebody who's positive and is looking for the good things, it's going to be easier.
Yeah.
So for some people, even just going out to compliment like that, 100 would be like a super stretch, like they may be like, maybe give them like one a day, to start sort of thing, right? Just to get into.
And it might be hard for them to even give a compliment verbally. Like maybe they're just not used to that, or
No,
maybe
they're
they're
not.
shy, or
Yeah. So
Work
I think
that muscle.
Exactly. Yeah. The more that they're going to practice it, the more they're going to open up a whole new world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. We just talked about generosity.
We talked about generosity.
And on the next episode, we'll be going over how to be generous.
How to be generous.
I'm excited for that.
This should be interesting.
We're going to find out, because I was already wondering half these questions anyway. So
Yep.
time to get started to find out how. How to.
Have a generous day.